Hello, I am going to do a new application video because the other one is kind of old and it's not really the process that I follow anymore. So I thought I would go ahead and do an application video with the new nails that I'm using. I'm going to Halloween Horror Nights this weekend, and so we are going to do some cool monster eye nails that actually glow in the dark, so they're pretty cool. So one thing that I did do is I have apparently given away every single pair of nail scissors that I have. So I'm using super big scissors. So this is just, you know, it happens. You can use anything you have in your house. You don't have to have the Jamberry things. But in this case, we're not using Jamberry scissors. So the first thing you have to do when you're applying your nails is you take a look at the nails and you have to find the one that most closely matches your nail. So what you'll do is you'll just take it and you'll line it up with the end of the nail wrap. And I happen to know that this one is the one that best matches my nail, just because I've done it. But you'll want to match it up to whichever one matches your nail the best. And you always want to err on the side of going too small rather than too big. You can cut the edge of the wrap if it is a little bit too big, or if you have wider nails at the base, you can always just kind of trim, like right here on the edge of the wrap. If you cut off like this very end right here, it'll give it more of a flat base. They work pretty well on mine. I don't tend to do much fussing with them. I'm not a perfectionist, and they look pretty good anyway, and for the most part people can't really tell what you're doing. Now you may have noticed I just turned on the fan on the heater. You probably can't even hear it. You probably can't even tell the difference between when it wasn't on and when it is. And that's one of the things I love about the Jamberry heater, is I can do it while I'm watching TV, while I'm doing whatever, and it's not going to make this loud annoying noise that like a hairdryer or whatever will. But you can always use a hairdryer or whatever works for you. So, and I'm going to do this a little differently from the Jamberry official method. It's just the way I, prefer to do it. But really you could do whatever works for you. So what I do is I lift up, and you'll see I'm lifting up off the wrap right here. You never want to touch the part of the wrap that's going to stick to your fingernails, because you don't want to have any type of oils or anything on the wrap, because that will decrease their effectiveness. So I just cut off the wrap, and now at this point I will use my fingers because I'm just using the very tip of the end, and I know that it's going to be bigger than my nail. There's a lot in the middle. Some people will save that middle portion for decoration on other wraps or whatever. I don't. I tend to throw it away, or it gets stuck all over my house. So as you can see, I just took that thing and I just lightly placed it, just barely touching the nail, and you can see that part of the wrap is going to extend off. Okay, so it's just slightly there. Then I'm going to take it to the heater. I'm going to warm it up, wait until it gets kind of melty. Then I'm going to take the pressure and I'm going to go straight down from the middle and then towards the outside edges. Okay, so you're going to go straight down from the middle and then towards the outside edges. Now I'll also use my finger. I use my finger a lot with these, but you can see, you press it down. I'm going to go ahead and heat it up one more time and just do a smooth press with my finger to get it all over that nail. Okay, now in this you can do one of two things. Either you can trim it off and then file it, or you can just file it. I like to trim it first, and again, this is a lot easier with little nail scissors, but I don't have them, so we just kind of get it close, and for me that's good enough. And then I'm going to leave it like that for a minute, let it cool down, okay, before I file it. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and take this other wrap and pick it up. Again, it's way longer than what I'm using, so I'm just going to slide it on, and you can see it's just barely touching. One thing you want to make sure of is that you get your positioning as good as possible. you don't want to do a bunch of lifting and putting down because that can mess up your nails. And I have been known to be impatient. And it gets to, and I've lifted it up and then I have messed up my nails. So you want to make sure you always take them off correctly and try and be as patient as possible. So that one's on. And this part is a little awkward because I'm cutting with the opposite hand and I have a slightly longer than average wrap on the other hand, but we're going to leave it that way for a second. Okay, so we have both hands done. This hand has had a chance to cool down. Now when you file your nails, you're going to file down this way to cut off the edge of the wrap. Okay, so you're just filing it down and then it's done. Now I also like to kind of file a little bit at an angle, and that just, I feel like, seals the nail on the wrap better. I don't know if it actually does, but that's, you know, my opinion is that it works a little better. And there you go, that one's already done. So this one we've already cut off some, so we're going to again take it and we're just going to file it down. Make sure I can get it where you guys can see it. So we're just going to file it down and do a straight up and down kind of motion with it. And you can see it'll start to cut off the edge of that wrap. I don't know how well you can see it. My screen is kind of tilted down because I'm just doing it on my MacBook, and you need to be able to see my hands, not my face, so it's not as normal. See? 2 done. So again, we're just going to move on to the next one. Now I know that this next one is going to fit most closely with this nail. Not this big one, but this next one right here. So that's what I'm going to use. And again, to match it up, you would just kind of match it up with which one fits best. But I've done my nails often enough that I'm pretty confident with the ones that I put on. And again, I'm going a little bit smaller because I want to make sure that it's not touching my cuticles. And I already did nail prep. I didn't talk about nail prep. I probably should have. I get rid of my cuticles by using the cuticle pusher right here. And make sure that your hands are clean. And you also prep with alcohol pads. Sometimes I don't do the alcohol pads because I tend to take mine off much earlier than most people do anyway. So they last long enough for me. And again, you're just going to slightly put it down and then heat it up and then press it down. Sometimes I will do it with a cuticle pusher and go straight down the center and then the sides, but you want to make sure you get down the center and then the sides. Don't try and do the sides first because they will, it can bubble if you do that. Also, if the nail wrap is too big, it can bubble, and if it's too big and it's like touching your cuticle or the other outside part of your nail, it can come off easier, and they won't last the full 2 weeks. Mine generally last about a week because I like to change them up so much. So, oops, still I'm off camera again. Pretty bad at this, huh? So that one's done, and then we'll do this one really quickly, and you can see how it's done. And this one, my nail is shorter, so it's actually a little bit more difficult to file because it doesn't stick out past my fingernail. And a lot of times, a lot of women will say, oh, I can't use Jamberry, I have to let my nails grow out first. But you really don't, because clearly that nail is not super long, but it has Jamberry on it. And again, I mean, would it look better if it were long and pretty? Of course it would. It always does. But the ones with Jamberry look better than the ones without. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and then I'm going to finish up, and I will show you guys the finished product. Okay, it's probably been maybe 5 minutes or so. I don't know how long it's been. But I'm just finishing up the pinkies, so I thought I would turn it back on for you guys to see the finished product. As I'm finishing it up, you can see there's little bits of things all over my robe that I put down here to kind of give me a solid color to film against. And that one did not go on straight, but we don't care, because again, 90% of the population are not going to see them in a close enough fashion to make it matter. And normally I would be moving the file and not my hand, but at the angle that I have to do it, it's kind of difficult. And you just kind of look, see, perfectly done. And, you know, again, if you look at, like, say this one, you can tell it's not perfect, but from a general place that most people see your hands from, nobody knows. Alright, thanks. Bye, guys.